In Port Charlotte, Florida, the storm surge flooded a lower-level emergency room as winds ripped away parts of the roof from the hospital's ICU. And despite the risk, some people who live in that area have decided to stay home, even in the path of Ian. So joining us now is Bailey Shatney. She's been sheltering in place at her home in Port Charlotte, Florida. She's joining us on the telephone. Bailey, first question, how are you and your family doing? Are you okay?
Yes. Fortunately, our neighborhood fared a lot better than the neighborhoods around us, and even some of our neighbors. So we are all healthy and nobody was injured.
What was it like when the storm was sort of barreling through your area?
I think initially we thought we were getting the worst of it and it wasn't so bad. I mean, I was taking videos and updating people that had family in the area. And then when we got put into the eye wall, we sat in it for hours, what felt like hours and hours, and it was just terrifying. I mean, parts of my car were ripped off, and our house was just getting barreled with tons of debris. Our neighbor's house is destroyed. Roofs are missing from our neighbors. It was absolutely terrifying. I was laying over my 20-month-old son and just praying and hoping that, we would make it through.
Oftentimes when people decide to stay in place instead of evacuating, people who live outside of the area, for example, people in New York or in other states will say, well, they've got the evacuation order. Why aren't they moving? Why aren't they deciding to leave? But there are often a bunch of reasons why people choose to stay behind and ride it out. What was the decision for you, Bailey?
So I think for me, it's actually a little unique. My husband and I actually live in Tampa. And so we did evacuate when we thought the storm was coming to Tampa. And my in-laws live here, and we got here Tuesday morning. And by the time we got here, we were out of gas. My in-laws are very low. We couldn't find any. And there was really no way to get out. And then we were headed to a shelter, and then we started hearing from friends and family that all the shelters were shutting their doors because of the winds that were coming in, and that it was no longer safe because of all of the tornadoes. So we kind of felt that we were trapped. A lot of our neighbors are extremely elderly, so a lot of the people here, they couldn't leave. They had no way to leave safely. A lot of our neighbors, I mean, even this morning, we have to help them start their generators because they're too weak to even start their own generators. So it's not as simple, when a storm's coming that fast to just leave. And I was working up until the point of impact. My husband was working from home as well. So I think a lot of people don't realize there's not a lot of resources that are that quickly accessible.
I think that's a great point, particularly when you have a storm like this that sort of goes all the way across. A lot of people went to Orlando. Now Orlando's being, pummeled with rain.
Right.
So you mentioned that you were out and about, and some of the neighborhoods around you did not do as well as your neighborhood did. What have you been seeing in terms of damage?
We went out in our Jeep this morning. I mean, down trees, entire roofs are sitting in the roads. And even some of our neighbors, we watched as the roofs got ripped off of their house. Lanais are flattened. Some streets are flooded, so I imagine their houses are flooded as well. We live right off Charlotte Harbor, but fortunately the surge did not affect our house. But, I mean, just devastation. Power lines are down everywhere. There's no traffic lights, and some roads are completely impassable. So I worry for EMS. My brother-in-law is a firefighter, so I worry what he's dealing with right now.
Wow. Well, listen, Bailey, I am really happy that you guys are doing okay.
Baby's okay, right?
Yeah.
Yes, everybody's okay.
Great.
Right, and it looks like the damage is at least limited. Thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us right now.
Yes, thank you for having me.